Welcome to this Florida Department of Transportation training. Overview of the Sociocultural Effects Evaluation process provides guidance for sociocultural effects evaluations for transportation projects. This video is organized under several topics posed as questions. The topics are: what is sociocultural effects evaluation, also referred as SCE evaluation, and why is it important? When is it prepared? Who prepares it and how are the results used? Building on this overview is a series of videos providing more depth on the process. The videos, which are available on the department's SCE Evaluation Process webpage, include instructions on how to prepare for an evaluation and assess potential effects, including specific considerations for the 6 SCE issues, and guidance on identifying solutions to effects and documenting the SCE evaluation results. To support the SCE evaluation process, videos on performing a project-level demographic analysis and environmental justice analysis are also available for viewing. Let's get started with what is SCE evaluation. SCE evaluation is a process used to identify, assess, and address the effects of a transportation action on human environments. Referred to as community impact assessment in federal policy in some states, the process seeks to balance transportation needs with the needs of communities and their quality of life. The process is collaborative, involving affected communities and other stakeholders to bring multiple perspectives into the transportation decision-making process. Collaboration facilitates the identification and assessment of potential project effects, including those impacting vulnerable or traditionally underrepresented population groups. From the early stages of transportation planning through project development, and sometimes later in the project lifecycle, the SCE evaluation process brings attention to community values and concerns to improve prospects for equitable, community-accepted outcomes. The framework of the SCE evaluation process has 3 main components, the first being the 6 SCE issues. The issues encompass the full spectrum of potential community concerns associated with transportation projects. These issues are further defined by a series of SCE considerations, developed by FDOT with input by SCE practitioners. Arranged by SCE issue, the considerations help the practitioner identify and assess potential project effects on communities and community resources. The last piece of the framework is the 6-step SCE evaluation process. I'll talk more about the process later in the "How is it prepared" part of the video. The first of the 6 SCE issues is social. The social issue is organized around the following SCE consideration topics: demographic composition of study area populations, community cohesion, safety and emergency response, community goals, and quality of life. The next SCE issue is economic. The SCE considerations for the economic issue address commerce, the tax base, employment, and special economic generators. The third SCE issue is land use changes. The SCE considerations that focus on land use changes are related to landscape character, recreation and open space lands, consistency with growth and development policies, and compatibility with adopted land use plans. Mobility is the next SCE issue. Mobility-related SCE considerations explore the potential for project effects relative to mobility choices, transportation system connectivity, traffic circulation, public parking, and transportation disadvantaged populations. The 5th SCE issue is aesthetic effects. During SCE evaluation, we investigate the potential for project effects on human environments relative to noise, vibration, visual compatibility, scenic vistas and viewsheds, sensitive community focal points, local aesthetic values, and project feature compatibility with the context. The 6th and final SCE issue is relocation potential. The relocation potential SCE considerations address 4 topics: residential uses and non-residential uses, community and institutional uses, and unique and special facilities. SCE evaluation is important because transportation actions can affect communities in both positive and negative ways. Through thoughtful evaluation and in coordination with communities, we strive to foresee the potential effects of a project, determine the significance of those effects on human environments, and look for ways to resolve any negative effects. In Florida, SCE evaluations are conducted to ensure that transportation projects comply with the department's SCE evaluation policy, which says it is the policy of the Florida Department of Transportation to provide effective, context-sensitive transportation facilities and services that contribute to local economies and quality of life. We study sociocultural effects to understand local values, goals, preferences, and concerns to provide effective, community-based solutions to transportation, and to use this information to address community issues that are appropriate to be resolved through the transportation project. SCE evaluation is performed to meet federal requirements for transportation planning and project development, such as the National Environmental Policy Act. The Act states it shall be the continuing policy of the federal government, in cooperation with state and local governments, to create and maintain harmony between the human and natural environments, fulfill social, economic, and other requirements of present and future generations, provide safe, healthful, productive, and aesthetically and culturally pleasing surroundings, and preserve important historic, cultural, and natural aspects of our national heritage. Other federal legislation that compels the identification and assessment of transportation project effects on human environments include Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and successor to MAP 21, the DRIVE Act, which governs federal spending on surface transportation. Florida's legal framework governing transportation decision-making also requires investigation and mitigation of community effects from transportation actions. A complete listing of laws and policies providing justification for conducting SCE evaluation can be found in Part 2, Chapter 9 of the Department's PD&E Manual. SCE evaluation is important for the role it plays in facilitating equitable outcomes. During the evaluation, information is collected about all population groups in the project area, including populations required to receive special consideration under federal and state non-discrimination rules. SCE evaluation informs project decision-making throughout the project lifecycle. The evaluation results reveal community characteristics and the potential for project effects. The results include recommended solutions to effects and may identify opportunities to make the project more context-sensitive. This information helps project teams down the line better understand community needs and anticipate effects so that the appropriate actions can be taken to avoid issues and produce a better transportation product. In this section, we'll talk about when in the project lifecycle that an SCE evaluation is prepared. In the planning phase, SCE evaluation is performed to aid in the screening of projects prior to their addition to long-range plans or work programs. During project development, the evaluation is a key input to the project public involvement plan and the environmental document. In the design phase, sociocultural data is used to create the community awareness plan and to understand potential effects relative to access management changes. Knowledge of the community is necessary in the construction and maintenance phases to understand how those activities could disrupt or otherwise impact people's lives and businesses. While broader in scope in the planning phase, SCE evaluations become more focused on any remaining issues in the later phases. The exception to this is when considerable time has passed since the previous evaluation and a reevaluation is required. Who prepares the SCE evaluation will vary depending on the project phase, type, and location. During planning, when long-range plans are developed, SCE evaluations are performed for qualifying projects by the assigned ETDM team. When a project is being considered for the department's work program, the assigned ETDM team prepares the evaluation. The District Project Development and Environment Team performs SCE evaluations during project development and for reevaluations in later project phases. Now let's look at the discrete steps in the SCE evaluation process. We start out by reviewing the SCE considerations, which, as mentioned earlier, are part of the SCE Evaluation Framework. By doing this, we will be alert to the ways that a transportation action could affect human environments. Next, we turn our attention to the six-step SCE evaluation process and getting organized. Steps 1 through 3 of the process are preparation steps. In Step 1, we review the project information. In Step 2, we define an initial study area. And in Step 3, we collect data about human communities and community resources in the study area. We know that communities are unique. Each has a distinct combination of values, preferences, and needs. Effective and efficient project decision-making relies on sound information about all population groups that could be affected by a project, including groups afforded special consideration under the non-discrimination legislation. So it is important that the data used in project evaluation accurately portrays the community's demographic character and trends. Data collected from our desktop can only tell us part of the story about who is out there and what is important to them. Getting out of the office is the best way to get the rest. Visit the study area to observe people, places, and resources firsthand. While out there, ask people you encounter about their sense of the community. Who's there? What's important? Use public involvement activities for the project as opportunities to verify the data you have collected. This three-pronged approach provides us with a better understanding of the community, improving our ability to identify and assess potential effects, which is the next step in the process. Step 4, Evaluate Sociocultural Effects, has 3 main tasks. First, identifying community resources and determining their level of importance to the community, then assessing potential project effects on those resources, both positive and negative, and gauging the severity of potential negative effects. During SCE evaluation, you are likely to notice relationships among the issues. This slide will illustrate using the social issue. These are the social sub-issues discussed earlier. Let's look at community cohesion first. A project that affects land use, aesthetics, or mobility, or causes relocations could have an effect on the ways that people interact in a neighborhood. Project effects to a business district could affect places where people regularly socialize, and community cohesion effects could in turn affect the viability of a business district. Community goals can be associated with any of the issues. Land use, mobility, and relocations could have safety and emergency response implications. The study area population is a factor in the identification and assessment of effects for all 6 issues, and vice versa. Quality of life is another sub-issue that corresponds to all of the issues. If potential adverse effects are identified during the evaluation, we use what we have learned about the project and the affected community to recommend ways to resolve issues. This is Step 5 of the SCE evaluation process. In the planning phase, such recommendations are typically about further investigation into the issue and ways of resolving it. This is done through targeted involvement of affected communities and focused study of the issue. In the project development phase, recommended solutions to issues are in the form of avoidance, minimization, mitigation, or enhancement measures. Throughout the SCE evaluation process, we rely on public involvement to tell us if our evaluation is on the right track. Does the data accurately depict the study area? Who is the community and what are the community's values, preferences, and concerns? Does the project purpose and need accurately depict community conditions and needs? Through public involvement, we can find out if we have overlooked a potential effect or characterize one differently than the community would. And we can ask if proposed mitigation measures would be a good fit in the community. Our last topic in this overview is about documenting the SCE evaluation results. The results for a planning phase evaluation may be documented in a special planning study, such as a corridor or feasibility study, or in an ETDM project summary report. In the project development phase, the results are reported in the environmental document. The SCE evaluation results should tell the community's story relative to the proposed transportation action and highlight key details about the evaluation itself. The story would tell of population groups in the study area and how each is distributed, both statistically and geographically. Potential project effects would be described, including relevant effects from past actions and any environmental justice issues. To be a credible story, there should be details about the data used. Where did it come from and when was it compiled? Some of the information used will have come from the community, so a briefing on public involvement activities is of interest. Like any good story, the SCE evaluation should have a conclusion. That is, recommendations on ways to shape a better project from the perspective of the community. And finally, storytelling is enhanced by imagery. Charts, maps, and photos are great ways to help convey important findings. This concludes the overview of the SCE evaluation process. If you have questions about SCE evaluation, please contact Dr. Rusty Ennemoser, State Public Involvement and Community Resources Coordinator. Additional videos and other resources are available on the department's SCE evaluation process webpage. Links to resources referenced in this video are listed on the following slide. Thank you for viewing this production of the Florida Department of Transportation.